Hello, dear Javier. Thank you for agreeing to record one podcast in the series that we're making in our Horizon 2020 project. And if you agree, I would start with a general question. So what are the main trends that you have spotted regarding the use of machine learning in the peer-to-peer landing?
Well, first of all, Vasile, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I would also like to mention that, well, I'm going to speak about mostly the work that we are doing here in the Fintech project at the UCM, Complutense University, and this is mostly a joint work, especially with my colleague Miller Ariza. And regarding the main trends, well, we have carried out a literature review on the use of peer-to-peer lending in risk and profit management. So we have surveyed almost 100 papers. We have found almost 100 papers on the topic in the last decade, and we have seen that they mostly focus on proposing predictive models, and that they mostly focus on performance. Okay, this is regarding the use I mean the importance of academy. Okay, what they do, they propose, for example, the use of new machine learning models. They go beyond the traditional decision tree and, of course, logistic regression, that is not a machine learning model. And they use, for example, random forest and boosting algorithms, neural networks. So the kind of state-of-art machine learning, and they also try for combining them in sophisticated ways, but mostly focusing on performance. And similarly, I think another trend is the use of new sources of information, like they try to add to the classical, application for the lending. So they add, well, they, for example, add the textual information of the application form, and they use natural language processing methods to try to extract variables from that free text and incorporate it to the model. They also use the digital fingerprint or social data from mobile phone records, and they add this kind of information to the model. But again, the interest is mostly performance, and this is regarding academy. Regarding industry, we are not so familiar with that, but we have seen that regulators are also interested in, as we have seen in our project, they are interested in the interpretability, okay, and the interpretability of the models. And they say, okay, we have a fancy tool, this is machine learning, people is interested in using it, but machine learning is typically a black box. Machine learning provides black box models that are difficult to interpret, but we need interpretability. The financial companies need to bring this interpretability, these explanations to the customer. So, and the customer also needs to that interpretability. Everybody needs that. The regulator, the industry, and also the customer. So these are like the main trends that we have seen, and even if our vision is mostly partial, because we are from the academy, we are from academy, and we know mostly what's going on the academy.
Thank you, Javier, for these details. I've noticed that you've mentioned that you are obviously, as most of us, on the side of academy, and you are not very familiar with what happens in practice with the trends spotted by fintechs, by businesses. But I would try to get a more concrete answer from you. Do you see that there's a wide gap between research done by academia and what the practitioners need from what you have seen?
Yes, there is a huge gap indeed, according to what we've seen. Because even if we are not practitioners, and I am computer scientist, but for example, my colleague Miller and my colleagues Maria Jesus and Mar, they are economists, and they know what the industry really needs. Okay, and what we see is that mm, mm, as I said, academy is mostly focusing on the proposing fancy models, even with fancy new variables and improving performance, but somehow they are neglecting the business knowledge. Like, for example, they are not focusing, for example, in a definition of the default. For example, they say we are going to predict default, but if in many words there is not even specified what is meant by default. For example, at what time frame or at what stage of the process do I want to predict default? Is it granting? This is behavior. So this is just an example. Something similar happens with the predictors that they are using. Sometimes they incorporate the interest rate. So if you use the interest rate, the model that you are using is not a granting model, because once you grant, then you have the interest rate. So this kind of we have seen that most academic work is kind of messy in terms of what they are proposing, what it is for, in terms of business. So we think that we in the academy need to better specify what we are proposing beyond the use of new methodologies. What are these new models for? And this is, I think, that something that I believe is kind of important. And then we are trying in our research to be, when we are proposing something, we are trying to be like clear, as we have seen, and also in our literature review, we are writing a paper. We hope it will be accepted soon. So what we claim is we need more to be closer to the business, because otherwise our findings could be useful, but we cannot, I mean, the industry will not be sure whether they can be applied as they are. Mostly they can't, or at least we believe they can't, because we don't provide enough information, and the information that we provide is sometimes messy. We in the academy, I think in the Fintech project we do it better. I hope.
Yes, that's probably one of our most important objectives, to try to bridge these two worlds and try to bring them closer together. And I would link to another aspect that you've mentioned, that supervisors, regulators are very interested in explainability when using machine learning. So I know that you've worked together with your colleagues on this topic in Madrid. So I would kindly ask you to elaborate a little bit more on the explainability of machine learning models, the so-called XAI.
Yeah. Well, first, I like to say that, as you know, that we are not the only one that we are working on that. I think that Jochen, that you have already interviewed, has worked on explainability and how to use them in finance, and in particular in peer-to-peer lending. And I think that it's only natural that these two worlds meet, and now is the moment, because I think that the interest on XAI is not only in finance but in many disciplines. This is one of the hottest areas right now in both in research and industry in artificial intelligence. So and the proposals are quite mature in terms that I think that they can be used for not only in academic terms but also in industry. Okay, so also it's a timely meeting between XI and finance, because regulators are demanding the use of interpretable models to protect consumers and also to protect businesses, to facilitate supervision. Okay, so the recommendations are, even the law, are focusing on this aspect. And given that industry wants to usually increase performance, and this promise can be delivered by machine learning, I think that XI is what is needed to also meet these regulatory requirements, and also to have a more robust environment, ecosystem, and also to create trust. Trust in the business, trust even a business that is so. It can be applied to finance in general, but it's more crucial in peer-to-peer lending, where you don't have a bank between the. There is no people regulating the transaction. Okay, it is between the lender and the owner. So we have this decentralized.
Okay, so sorry, Javier. There was a moment when I thought I lost you.
Yeah, okay.
So I would go further with asking you, so what's next for you and for the team there in Madrid? What are you going to focus on in your research? And also, what are the broader directions that you see in general in this field? So basically, you've focused also on XAI, which I think also it's one of the most important.
Yeah, well, we are finishing this literature review. As you know, when you submit a manuscript to a journal, you have it finished, but then it's not finished yet. Okay, so we are finishing our, we hope, last version, and then we are also working on bringing explainability to a profit model. Okay, so we are in peer-to-peer. Okay, so we are incorporating the profit information to the decision of the algorithm, and we also want to not only to see how this model works, but also to analyze it in terms of explainability. So this is what we are doing right now. I think that very going beyond our, well, we are also interested in identifying the main components of explainability more in a more conceptual way. I mean, instead of this application applied model, we want to determine the components that bring explainability to a machine learning model in credit risk, and focusing on the indicators that may be different in other areas, because in credit risk we have some specific areas. Even if so, we are focusing on that in a more conceptual level, and going beyond what we are doing. I believe that inference and causality is what is needed. Is what is coming next beyond explainability in the use of machine learning. And I think that the proposals, the academic proposals, are more mature on this topic, and I think that this will be like what will come next in the next few years. I hope we can see causality in the machine learning models instead of just predictive performance, and hopefully some forms of inference. And then I think that will be perfect for econometricians that typically work with these kind of properties and that typically do not trust machine learning models because they lack of them. So I hope that even if it is not as canonical as the inference and causality of econometrics, I hope that we can see in the future these new features in machine learning models, and I think that it will improve again the model and the reliability and the trust on the models.
Thank you very much, Javier, for your time and for these very interesting details. And I wish you an excellent day ahead. And definitely, we're going to post this online soon. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Vasile. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.